There's a ton of music streaming services out there, but which one should you use? Well, I've done the work and compared 5 of the most popular services in North America to compare their features and sound quality, and put all that info together for you in one convenient video. So the streaming services I'm comparing are Spotify, YouTube Music, Apple Music, Tidal, and Amazon Music. I used each service for about a week and did some technical tests comparing the audio quality, which I'll get into later on in this video. I also compared Tidal and Amazon's Hi-Fi and HD quality services. Prior to trying out each service, I was using Google Play Music, so I'm going into each service with the same amount of experience, which is none. Perhaps most notably absent from this test is Pandora, which I strongly recommend against using. It has by far the worst audio quality, features, and usability of all of these services. Please use literally anything other than Pandora. There are also some other services that are pretty popular outside of the States, like Deezer, that I didn't include. Definitely hit the like button and leave a comment if you'd like to see me compare those services in a future video. To begin with, let's break down the pricing. All of the services except Apple and Tidal offer free ad-supported streaming with lower quality and fewer features. For premium features, the pricing starts at $10 a month. All of the services offered a discounted price of $5 a month for students. Tidal also offers a price of $6 a month for military and first responders. If you're a Prime member, Amazon gives you a discounted price of $8 a month or $4 a month for students. Some of the services also give you other bonuses with a subscription. If you have a student Spotify subscription, you can get a Hulu and Showtime plan. YouTube Music also comes with Google Play Music, and for $2 a month more or $1 a month more for students, you can get YouTube Premium. Besides the individual plans, there are also options for family plans for $15 a month, which gives you a total of 6 accounts, including your own, with the exception of Amazon, which limits you to streaming on 6 simultaneous devices for, as far as I can tell, unlimited accounts. If you want a higher quality service, there's even more options. Tidal's Hi-Fi service starts at $20 a month or $10 a month for students and $12 a month for military and first responders. You can also get a Hi-Fi family plan for $30 a month. Amazon's HD service starts at $15 a month or $13 a month for Prime members, making it cheaper than Tidal. I'm not positive on this since Amazon's pricing and advertising is a fucking nightmare, but it appears students can get HD for $10 a month or $9 if you're also a Prime subscriber. In case you didn't catch all of that, I made this handy chart. Okay, moving on. Now it's time to talk general features and usability of these services. A quick disclaimer, I only spent about a week with each service, and obviously my thoughts are based on my own personal experience and how I use music services, so anyone is welcome to disagree with my opinions here. First, let's talk Spotify. Overall, I like the Spotify interface a lot. It has a great layout on both desktop and mobile devices. It's fast and easy to get what you're looking for. Besides that, you also get great synchronization between different listening devices, and you can even use your phone to remotely control a desktop listening session. I never had any issues with crashes or freezing, and downloading tracks on Spotify was way faster and smoother than any other service I used. You also get a ton of options for customizing your listening experience, from selecting audio quality for streaming and downloading to adjusting and disabling audio normalization. You can also choose whether to crossfade or auto-mix songs on playlists. On the desktop app, you can select internet proxy options, block cookies, and even choose your output device, which is very handy. Besides the general user experience, Spotify has great social features, as well as the option to keep your listening private if you choose. Thanks to the Spotify API, there's also a ton of third-party integration with everything from social media sites like Discord and Instagram, to dating apps like Tinder and Bumble, and even Google Maps. Spotify has pretty much total music availability. I didn't encounter any situations where I couldn't find an album or song. The playlist experience is also excellent. If you try to add duplicate songs to your playlist, you're given the option to skip them or add the songs again. The track queue shows you the track name, artist, album title, and song duration. My only complaint is that you can't see the album art, which I find very useful for quickly identifying what's up next in my playlist. Speaking of the queue, you can easily access it while listening, but unfortunately you can't see what songs have already played, which is a tad annoying. It's also annoying to remove individual songs from the queue, but you can quickly remove several songs. It's also easy to drag and drop songs to rearrange your queue. Alright, now let's talk YouTube Music. Overall, the interface isn't great. It's very clunky and genuinely really slow on desktop and mobile. It's hard to find things until you get into the library section. On the upside, I didn't have any stability problems, and download speed and simplicity was bested only by Spotify. You can set audio quality for streaming and downloading, but unfortunately there's no options to disable audio normalization or select an output device. There's also not really any social features beyond sharing playlists, and not much third-party integration to speak of. The music availability on YouTube is also a bit odd. On one hand, you get access to a huge library of independently published music by small artists who primarily post their music to YouTube, but on the other hand, I found some major album releases were missing. Unlike Spotify, YouTube will duplicate songs in a playlist without warning. Fortunately, the playlist queue is super easy to access and it shows you the track title, duration, artist, as well as the album art, which as I mentioned, I greatly appreciate. The queue is also easy to adjust by swiping to remove or rearrange songs. Alright, on to Apple Music. I was not particularly impressed with the overall user experience. The app would crash and refuse to play audio, and this was on an iPhone 7 Plus running the latest version of iOS. Even when it did work, the interface was clunky and hard to navigate. User-made playlists are buried under auto-generated playlists, and things are just generally hard to find. You have to click twice to get to an artist page, and when looking at an artist page, song collections are broken into what I consider to be way too many categories. You have albums, singles and EPs, live albums, compilations. I don't get why you can't just have one, maybe two different categories. The experience is even worse if you're using Apple Music through iTunes on a desktop. On the upside, Apple Music gives you quick and easy access to lyrics for tons of releases, and song identification is pretty neat. I didn't have any problems finding music releases on Apple Music, though the deluxe version of one album was missing, but that just meant there were a few instrumentals I couldn't add to my playlist. Like Spotify, you get a warning about adding duplicate songs to playlists. Even more useful, when you add a song to one of your playlists, it also gets added to your library. It's super frustrating to be unable to find songs and albums you've added to a playlist in your library, even if they're downloaded. That was a huge complaint I had about Google Play Music. The overall playlist experience was solid, at least on iOS. The queue shows the track and artist name as well as the album art. You can see past songs as well, and rearranging the queue is quite easy, but unfortunately removing songs is not quite as simple. Now to Tidal. Overall, the Tidal interface is pretty good. Playlists and music in your library is quick and easy to access, and it's not hard to find things. I also didn't have any issues with stability. On the downside, downloading songs on Tidal was an awful experience. Downloads were sluggish and would frequently freeze up. Occasionally, songs would straight up just refuse to download, and I had to remove them from my playlist to get the rest of the songs to download. The search function is also pretty bad. It doesn't utilize fuzzy logic, which means you have to type exactly what you're looking for. For example, typing Florence and the Machine won't help you find Florence plus the Machine. And good luck if the song you're looking for has non-traditional characters in it. Besides that though, things were good. You get easy access to track and artist information, including an artist bio and track credits, which I find quite interesting. The interface also shows you your current streaming quality, including when master quality isn't available. In the settings, you get typical options for audio quality and the option to turn off loudness normalization. On desktop, you can also select what output device you want Tidal to use. Music availability with Tidal was pretty good. There was a few major releases from my playlist missing, which was annoying, but nothing too bad. There's also a solid selection of master quality albums, as well as 3D music streaming on mobile devices with Sony 360 and Dolby Atmos on Android devices. The selection isn't huge, but it's still pretty neat. Like most of the services, Tidal warns you about adding duplicate tracks to a playlist. The playlist queue shows you the track name, artist, and album art. Even though the album art is included, the queue is still not great. It doesn't auto-scroll to keep up with where you are in a playlist, which gets really annoying if you're deep into a playlist. On the upside, you can see previously played songs, and rearranging or removing songs from the queue is easy enough. Lastly, let's talk Amazon Music. The desktop app is absolutely atrocious, but to be fair, it's almost impossible to find a download, so clearly Amazon isn't pushing that experience. Unfortunately, the mobile app is just as bad. It's clunky, ugly, and there's an entire tab of the interface dedicated to Alexa for no discernible reason. Downloading music is a painful experience. Amazon somehow made it worse than Tidal. Downloads are slow and get stuck frequently. To make it even worse, as far as I can tell, there's no way to see what tracks are currently downloading, and you can't tell what you've already downloaded without enabling offline mode, which is a pain to turn off and on. On the upside, after digging through some menus, you can set streaming and download audio quality and turn off normalization if you want. Both the desktop and mobile app also show you the current streaming quality, including the bit depth and sample rate, as well as what your device is capable of, which is really neat and handy to see if you're actually hearing master quality audio. You also get easy access to song lyrics. Music availability was perfectly fine. There weren't quite as many albums available at master quality as with Tidal, but there was still a solid selection. You can also stream 3D music with Sony 360 and Dolby Atmos, but unfortunately, only on an Echo Studio device. Unlike any of the other services, Amazon actually lets you set how to deal with playlist duplicates. Like Apple Music, adding music to a playlist also adds it to your library. The playlist queue shows you the track title, album art, and artist, and it stays current with the music you're playing while still showing previously played songs. Unfortunately, removing songs from the queue is pretty slow, and there's no way to rearrange songs. Alright, now for probably the most interesting part of this video, how each of these services stack up when it comes to audio quality. I'm going to throw up the results so you can see them and then explain how I got these results. I'll also give some analysis of the results after that. So these numbers are based on an album I produced that was released on all major services and are a comparison to the original master file. The decibel numbers are measuring the loudness of any noise and distortion added as well as any detail removed. The original master files would have a score of negative 96 dB for reference. I reached these numbers by tracking playback of 3 songs through a virtual interface into my DAW. When possible, the highest audio quality was selected within the streaming app and audio normalization was disabled. The recorded tracks were individually normalized to the same level by me, as differences in normalization would have an unfairly dramatic impact on the results. I then added the 16-bit master file with the polarity inverted to the recorded tracks from each streaming service, which gives us the difference between what you hear through the streaming services and the original masters. The value you see is the integrated loudness of the difference in dB LUFS measured with iZotope Insight 2 without any gating. Okay, so some more info on the numbers. For whatever reason, even after I disabled track normalization in Amazon Music, the tracks were clearly still normalized to an aggressive degree. That meant the noise floor was way higher after I normalized the tracks, resulting in the really bad numbers for Amazon. I was surprised that Spotify and Tidal Premium did as badly as they did. I wonder if Tidal intentionally nerfed the quality of their standard service to make the hi-fi service seem more attractive, but obviously I have no evidence to back that up. I was also surprised that YouTube did as well as it did, since historically it has had pretty bad quality, but clearly that's been improved recently. Apple Music's excellent showing is likely due to their high quality encoding. Apple's AAC encoder has long been documented to produce better results than other encoders from the likes of Fraunhofer, and I imagine that is what gave them the edge among the standard services. Unsurprisingly, the Hi-Fi and HD services offer the best quality. Ironically, Amazon and Tidal have both the best and the worst streaming quality. Amazon HD does edge out Tidal by a decent amount, but either one is a massive improvement over the likes of Spotify and YouTube. The results do raise the question of whether it's worth it to pony up for a higher quality streaming service, especially since Apple Music is so close in quality. When comparing the test files I produced, I found that the higher quality services had basically no added noise or distortion, and it was just a minor loss in detail, which translates to a larger difference when listening than the numbers show. Theoretically, there should be no loss in quality converting to FLAC, but obviously that isn't the case with however they process the music. Based on my personal listening, I found there was a noticeable improvement in fidelity, but not by much, and it was only in certain environments that I could hear it. For the most part, the higher quality translated to subtle background elements being less obscured. Of course, if you're listening in noisy environments like in a car or on low quality speakers or headphones, you probably won't be able to hear much of a difference. Most Bluetooth devices will also kill any quality difference when the audio is compressed for transmission, except perhaps on Apple devices which have higher Bluetooth streaming quality than their Android and Windows counterparts. Okay, so all that brings us to the final question: which of these services would I recommend? I think for the average listener, Spotify is a great choice. It has by far the best user and social experience and lots of third-party integration. It might not have the greatest audio quality, but a typical listener won't notice the difference. Hulu and Showtime bundled in for students is also a big draw. If you want the best audio quality without ponying up for a more expensive subscription, or if you're totally invested in the Apple ecosystem, Apple Music is a great choice. Of course, for military and first responders, Tidal's discounts for those individuals make it a compelling option. If you use YouTube frequently, the option of getting premium with the music subscription for only $2 a month more is very compelling. You also get the Google Play music experience in the same subscription, even with the standard subscription. If you have an Amazon Prime subscription, then Amazon becomes a decent option, though I still find it hard to recommend since you can get a much better experience for only $2 a month more on any other service. It's also a decent option if you want higher quality music, though I'm still tempted to recommend Tidal over Amazon, even if you have Prime, just because of how mediocre Amazon's music experience is. Anyway, that's it for this video. A pretty long one, but hopefully you found it useful and interesting, and if so, please hit that like button. If not, feel free hit the dislike button. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those down in the comment section down below. And as always, if you want to see more videos like this one, please hit that subscribe button.